After the triumph of the first game, it was inevitable that Valve would try to repeat the huge success with a sequel to Portal. After all, it's not till 3 that Valve has trouble making sequels. Valve's particular combination of puzzles and humor had players thinking with Portals all over again. The first game was a small effort put together using a student project as a foundation. But what about their second larger outing? That's what we're exploring today. My name is Stephanie Panisello, and today on the Leaderboard, we're counting down 107 facts on Portal 2. Let's get started. Number 1. Portal 2's release was scheduled for April 19, 2011 on the Steam platform. The European and Australian releases followed closely on April 21, 2011. Number 2. However, thanks to an alternate reality game hidden in a game bundle called The Potato Sack, players were able to roll back the launch clock from Portal 2, allowing it to come out 9.5 hours earlier than the intended launch. Number 3. Portal 2 was the first Valve game to be released for Macintosh computers at the same time as the PC release. Number 4. As of November 2012, at least 2,500 teachers worldwide were using the Teach with Portal software as part of their curriculum. Number 5. Portal 2 was announced through an alternate reality game, introduced to the original Portal through a patch in the PC version of the game that introduced a new achievement where players would take radios to specific locations in the game and decipher the resulting audio that would play back. Number 6. The phone number used in the first alternate reality game, where players had to decipher audio found through the transmission received achievement, was set up in Valve employee Adam Foster's home kitchen, where the number was connected to an old BBC-capable PC with a 1987 modem. Number 7. This setup apparently cost only about $100. Number 8. Hidden in Portal 2 is an encoded audio file that contains 3 slides which give behind-the-scenes details about the making of the game. Number 9. Portal 2 was initially planned to be set in the 80s as a prequel set 20 years before Portal 1, and it would feature a robot uprising in the Aperture Science. Number 10. Originally, Portal 2 was not even going to have Chell, the silent protagonist of the original Portal game, or even Portal's present in the game at all. Number 11. Instead, Portal 2's idea was going to debut a new protagonist named Mel. Writer Eric Wolpow felt that Chell's story was over, so he wanted to have a new protagonist from the sequel. At first, game testers were in the support of Mel, but as time went on, they were disappointed that GLaDOS didn't recognize the player, so the idea was scrapped. Number 12. And instead of Portals, Portal 2 was supposed to feature a game mechanic referred to as f-stop, which was created in design equipments and is currently being kept under wraps by Valve. Maybe their secrecy means that they plan to use it in the future. F-stops would factor in the name Aperture Science. They're both related to cameras, in case you were wondering. Number 13. The ending of the original Portal was modified prior to the release of Portal 2, so that Chell was dragged back into the building by the party escort bot, in order to keep the continuity between the games. Number 14. GLaDOS was originally planned to be replaced by another villain. It would instead only appear in a cameo role as a tiny little bot that would appear before each challenge. Number 15. Who, you asked, was going to replace her? None other than her very own mentor and icon, the renowned Cave Johnson. Number 16. Not the actual physical Cave Johnson, that is. He was supposed to be trapped inside of a computer, but the idea was later scrapped. Number 18. Cave Johnson originally had a different secretary during development, a scientist named Greg. But Valve realized that they would have to hire another voice actor. So, in an effort to cut cost and an enticement to create an origin for GLaDOS, Greg was cut and Caroline was added. Greg would later be used as Cave Johnson's new partner in the Perpetual Testing Initiative DLC. Portal 2 was ranked 2nd place in Time's top 10 video games of 2011. Number 19. Cave Johnson's voice actor is none other than the great J.K. Simmons. Simmons is best known as J. Jonas Jameson in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. Juno's dad in the movie Juno, Tenzin in The Legend of Korra, and Stanford Pines in Gravity Falls. Number 20. The new character Wheatley had his roots in another character, a paranoid sphere designed for the original version of the game. This paranoid sphere cordoned off his own section of Aperture Science and set up defenses to protect his space. Number 21. The original prototype sphere would be bashed against walls and thrown downstairs screaming. Valve planned to do the same with Wheatley, but the mechanic was eventually scrapped due to technical difficulties. Number 22. The original voice for the paranoid prototype sphere and the temp voice for Wheatley was a Valve animator named Richard Lord. His voice was used for a debut of Portal 2 at E3 2010. Number 23. At one point, the writers seriously considered Richard Ayoade, star of the IT Crowd, for the voice of Wheatley. Instead, they chose Stephen Merchant, best known for his work with Ricky Gervais on the UK version of The Office. Number 24. Wheatley voice actor Stephen Merchant stated that Portal 2's writers first approached him for the role because of his nerdy agent role in extras. But it wasn't until they were in the middle of recording when he realized that Wheatley was something a bit more malevolent. Number 25. In total, Stephen Merchant recorded approximately 16.5 hours of material as Wheatley. Number 26. Around 30 hours of dialogue was recorded for GLaDOS GLaDOS. Number 27. As condescending as GLaDOS is, playtesters found that the earliest version of GLaDOS upon waking her up in Portal 2 was way too vicious and mean. Even Ellen McLean, the voice of GLaDOS, found that some of the dialogue was just a little too harsh to be saying. Number 28. According to Portal 2 writer Eric Wolpow, there was approximately 13,000 lines of dialogue written for the game. Number 29. Originally, Wheatley was supposed to die upon GLaDOS' awakening, to never appear again. According to Valve, this was in order to let everyone know how evil GLaDOS really was. Number 30. There was originally going to be a Morgan Freeman sphere, which would have been trapped in a small room for a few centuries and would have been very wise, but only in regards to the room that he had been trapped in.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Number 31. Prolific voice actor Nolan North, who you may know from absolutely every single video game that's out there, managed to get himself cast as 3 different characters in Portal 2. He plays the Space Corps, the Adventure Corps, and the Defective Turret. Number 32. Portal 2 was to include a gel that would allow players to walk on walls, called the Adhesion Gel, but it was dropped after players became too nauseous. Number 33. Co-writer Chet Falazek revealed that we also tried a competitive multiplayer mode, which would put together over the space of a month or 2. It was kind of a mix of the old Enigma game Speedball and Portal, except with none of the good parts or either of those 2. Number 34. The co-op campaign originally included a parody of Garfield, a comic strip called Doorfield. Atlas and Peabody would discover the comics on a mission to recover human artifacts. Number 35. In the co-op campaign, the monitors above the test chamber menu at the start of each course display ingredients for the cake from Portal 1, mixed with scrambled programming code. Number 36. One idea for the co-op campaign that was scrapped due to logistical reasons was to have GLaDOS tell one player one thing and whisper to the other player something different. Number 37. GLaDOS was originally going to be arbitrarily assigning points for no reason to players in the co-op campaign as part of an effort to turn players against each other, but it was received very negatively by testers who took the points seriously. Number 38. Alice and Peabody, the protagonists of the co-campaign, were voiced by D. Bradley Baker. Baker is well known for his animal voices, such as Momo and Appa of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Gravity Falls Waddles, as well as Left 4 Dead's Infected. Number 39. The 2 robots were originally going to look more like humans, similar to Westworld. Number 40. There was discussion regarding changing Chell's nationality for the sequel. Although her nationality in the first game was never officially determined, aside from the possible Japanese ancestry. Number 41. According to the writers, Chell can speak, but she chooses not to, so that the robots don't get the satisfaction of hearing her talk. I wonder if all the silent protagonists are really just out there to spite someone. Number 42. Chell was going to speak her first word in the original ending to Portal 2, where the stalemate between Wheatley and GLaDOS could only be resolved by Chell saying yes. Number 43. According to Wolpow, there was an idea considered for Portal 2, where Chell was going to stumble upon a lost tribe of turrets. Chell would help these turrets in the same way then the giant animal turret king, which is seen in Portal 2, would marry off one of its turrets to Chell. The turret would then tag along with Chell throughout the rest of the game. Number 44. While developing Portal 2, the writers originally considered several premature game endings, but since the idea required too much development effort from little playback, they really just scrapped the whole thing. Though you can be killed by following Wheatley's instructions to get to the pony farm.
A pony farm.
Number 45. The idea for the fake endings were reportedly inspired by the fact that a certain amount of Portal 1 players do not escape the fire pit at the end of the game. Number 46. One of the scrap joke endings would have been triggered by shooting a portal into the moon's surface. Afterward, the player's character would die from the asphyxiation over a closing song. Gosh, they're so romantic. Number 47. During development, one of the puzzle mechanics presented involved suction vents, where suctions could be redirected through portals. The developers were unable to implement it into the puzzles, but it was used in the game during the ending when the player is sucked into the moon. Number 48. Wolpow and Falazek hate cinematics in games, and they strive to keep the players in control for as much as possible of the game. Number 49. As with the portals from the original Portal, the gels featured in Portal 2 were inspired by a 2009 DigiPen student project called Tag the Power of Paint. The student developers were hired by Valve shortly after winning the student competition for the 2009 Independent Games Festival. Number 50. One of the most memorable scenes of Portal 2 is, of course, GLaDOS's personality being transplanted into a potato battery. But why a potato? According to Wolpow, we know GLaDOS was going to get deposed and she was going to have to tumble. And we were going to have to try and figure out what was the most humiliating thing that could ever happen to her. We figured turning her into a potato battery was pretty damn bad. It just seems super sad being in this shriveled, crappy little potato. Oh, poor GLaDOS, you shouldn't have been such a jerk. Number 51. As a proposed explanation for why GLaDOS doesn't tell Chell how to solve the puzzles, the bird that grabs the potato GLaDOS was originally going to eat parts of the potato every few test chambers, making GLaDOS dumber as the levels progressed.
These bridges are made from natural light that
My mom always said,
Life was like a box of chocolate.
Number 52. The original Relaxation Vault opening sequence featured a virtual reality beach. Number 53. The second time Chell wakes up in the opening scene, the painting in her room changes from a daytime scene into a nighttime scene. Number 54. The sped up instructions GLaDOS gives in Test Chamber 8 is actually a quote from Moby Dick.
Let me give you the fast version. There.
Number 55. Ellen McLean, the voice of GLaDOS, wrote an original song called GLaDOS' Song to be included as an Easter egg in Portal 2, but it was not used in the final game. It was recorded after the game's release by Ellen and her husband John Patrick Lowry, the voice of Sniper from Team Fortress 2. Number 56. The turret opera at the end of the game is to the tune of Cara Mia Addio, with lyrics in Italian improvised by Ellen McLean. Number 57. Exile Vilify was a song written specifically for Portal 2 by indie rock band The National. Number 58. The radio in Chapter 2, Test Chamber 6, is playing an instrumental jazz version of the Still Alive, the end credits song from the original Portal game. Number 59. Decoding the audio that results when getting the final transmission achievement will reveal a hidden image of a companion cube that appears to be on the moon. Number 60. In the opening scene, when Wheatley is moving your box, if you look closely at several of the test subject boxes as you pass by, you will be able to read packing slips on each box that indicate details about each test subject, as well as expiration dates. Number 61. If you save the malfunctioning turret in the conveyor belts that you encounter in Chapter 5, it'll give you these vague, cryptic hints that foreshadow subsequent parts of the game.
Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man.
Number 62. During the Bring Your Daughter to Work Day Science Fair segment of Portal 2, you'll find a giant potato growing in the ceiling. If you observe closely at the potato, you'll find that it was made by Chell, and she used a special ingredient from Daddy's work, which implies that Chell was the daughter of an Aperture Science employee. Number 63. There are many second place and runner-up awards displayed, implying that rivalry between Aperture and Black Mesa dates back as early as 1949. Number 64. The dock with the Borealis, an Aperture Science research vessel, which appears in the Half-Life series, was launched, and it shows up again in an Easter egg in Chapter 6. Number 65. If the game's audio files are tampered with or deleted, instead of running a broken audio clip, the game will instead run a clip labeled error.wave, which is a file of Dr. Kleiner from Half-Life saying,
No fiddlesticks. What now?
Number 66. In Chapter 8, Test Chamber 15, you can catch a glimpse of Peabody in the distance when Wheatley says he has a surprise in store. Number 67. In Test Chamber 7, you can hear music coming from the companion cubes as if they were singing. Number 68. The Spanish phrase that Wheatley says shortly after taking over the facility translates to, "You are using this translation software incorrectly. Please consult the manual."
Estás usando este software de traducción de forma incorrecta.
Number 69. There's an Easter egg in the 5th chamber of Portal 2's DLC. If you squeeze through a portal through a half-opened office door, you'll find a robot hand in a glass jar. The hand in the jar bears a striking resemblance to the Terminator hand at the Cyberdyne headquarters in Terminator 2. Number 70. In Portal 2, there are ways to get trapped in rooms. You can trap yourself in Test Chamber 4, 10, and 15.
Oops. You trapped yourself. I guess that's it then. Thanks for testing.
Number 71. GLaDOS' final speech used to be 3 times as long as it was in the final version. It was rewritten at the last minute. Number 72. There are unused audio files for Caroline that appear to imply a deleted scene where Caroline is transferred into GLaDOS. Number 73. Based on hits from illustrations on the packing boxes from turrets, the turrets in Portal appear to have been designed by Aperture Science to guard infants. Number 74. Aside from the obvious nod to the myth of Prometheus by the Oracle turret, there are several other references to the legend, such as the one of the bots in the co-op campaign being named Atlas, one of Prometheus's brothers, and an area of old Aperture labeled Tartarus 09. Number 75. Players who got all 36 potatoes in the Potato Sack bundle received the complete Valve pack as a reward. Number 76. Select key players of the Potato Sack ARG that made significant contributions were flown to Valve for the Portal 2 launch party on April 18th as a reward for their contribution. Number 77. There's a hidden portrait of Cave Johnson and Caroline in Chapter 7, which upon viewing will unlock the portrait of a lady achievement. Number 78. If you look closely into the hidden portrait of Caroline and Mr. Johnson, you can see a face in the background of the painting on the left. The face resembles Aeschylus, who is usually credited as the writer of Prometheus Bound. Number 79. During Chapter 8, when escaping with Wheatley, GLaDOS invites Chell to the final test chamber, which is already solved. Doing so will result in an achievement as well as death by neurotoxin. Number 80. The Smash TV achievement can be unlocked by smashing the monitors in each lever where Wheatley appears in Chapter 8. Number 81. You can gain the Pit Boss achievement by returning turning and jumping into the pit where you escaped from Wheatley's crusher panels. Number 82. In Chapter 5, after removing the master turret from the scanner in the control room, step into the scanner to be scanned in order to receive the Scanned Alone achievement. Number 83. Doug Ratman's hideaways are present all throughout Portal 2. They're not easy to find, but they are there, and each one tells a story or has an Easter egg of some kind. Number 84. Ratman Den 1 in Chapter 1, Test 4 has "The cake is a lie" written all over the walls. Number 85. Ratman Den 2 in Chapter 2, Test 3 contains a radio in the Ratman's Den that plays the national song Exile Vilify. Number 86. Ratman Den 3 in Chapter 2, Test 6 contains a radio that leads to the aforementioned first transmission achievement. Number 87. Ratman Den 4 in Chapter 3, Test 11 grants the player a brief view of Wheatley sliding along his rail. Number 88. Ratman Den 5 in Chapter 3, Test 12 shows a haunting mural with the lines "There is no magic" and "Who are you?" written across. Number 89. Ratman Den 6 in Chapter 3, Test 16 reveals a hidden quartet of singing turrets that foreshadow the ending. Number 90. The final den in Chapter 3, Test 17 doesn't have much, just some mugs. One of them says, "Who farted?" Number 91. You can actually catch a glimpse of the protagonist of the co-op campaign in the solo campaign. In Chapter 8 Chamber and in 15, you can score a fleeting view of them. Number 92. If you're a huge Portal fan, then you should check out the short film Portal No Escape by Dan Trachtenberg. It does some fan service. Number 93. Portal Stories. Mel is a mod for Portal 2 that spent 3 years in development. It comes with a whole new story, new gear, new missions, and it's more Portal goodness that's also free. Number 94. Portal Stories. Mel allows you to play as Mel, obviously, a survivor of the Aperture Science Innovators short-term relaxation vault. And if you remember, she was the pitched protagonist for Portal 2. Number 95. The Perpetual Testing Initiative DLC is a game mode and a campaign that introduces the concept of multiple alternate universes, or the multiverse for short. The setting is entirely on testing chambers created by the Portal 2 community of the Steam Workshop. Number 96. The test chamber and the DLC are completely user-generated, and they use the simple, easy-to-use in-game testing editor, Puzzle Creator. Number 97. The Portal 2 Perpetual Testing Initiative was awarded the 2012 Golden Joystick for Best Use of DLC. Number 98. An anonymous tech at NASA secretly laser engraved the Space Core onto a panel to be flown on a Japanese HTV-3 resupply craft to the International Space Station in 2012. Number 99. Portal is a featured franchise in the Warner Brothers TT Game developers' LEGO Dimensions game and toy line. Like Skylanders or Disney Infinity, the game involves players facing features on a plastic base that's connected to their game console. Number 100. The hit indie game The Stanley Parable gives their protagonist a portal gun and the narrator praises the game. Number 101. The game Dishonored also references Portal, with the incorporation of the Aperture logo and the invention of a door that will help people travel vast distances in a single step. Number 102. There's a Portal 2 level pack available for the LEGO Dimensions video game, where you can play as Chell in the new Aperture Science test chambers. Number 103. A new GLaDOS song separate from the Portal games was written specifically at the end credits of LEGO Dimensions by Jonathan Colton called You Wouldn't Know. Number 104. In celebration of the opening of the Steam Workshop for Skyrim, Valve and Bethesda created a mod that allows a space core to be included in the game, where it will constantly talk to players about space.
Going to space, going there. Can't wait, gotta go. Space, going.
Number 105. Zen Studios partnered with Valve to create a custom Portal pinball table for the pinball game Pinball FX 2. Number 106. Sentry turrets appear in the Steam version of the game Bastion, where they can be used in battle. Number 107. GLaDOS has an appearance as an antagonist in Defense Grade U Monster, complete with new dialogue from Ellen McLean. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching 107 facts on Portal 2. If you liked our video, you can go ahead and check out our video on Portal 1 as well as Team Fortress 2. Until next time, I'm Stephanie here at the Leaderboard, helping you game smarter.